I worked 2 jobs while my husband went back to school. His mother always looked down on me. On his graduation day, I wasn't invited. He told me the night before. It's just family. You'd make it weird. When I saw the photos online, his arm was around someone else. She's who I deserve now, he texted. I walked outside to clear my head, and found my car was missing. Inside, the spare key was gone, and the camera above the garage had been turned toward. I'm 38. I live in Tallahassee, Florida. Or at least I did until everything got ripped out from under me. I don't know where I'll end up now. I gave 10 years of my life to a man who used me. His name is Ryan. He's 35 now. When I met him, he had nothing. No job, no real goals, just that southern charm and a way with words. He was funny, kind, well, he seemed kind, and he listened. That's what got me. He actually listened to me, or so I thought. We met at a friend's barbecue. I had just gotten off a double-shift waitressing, still in my work pants and hair up in a bun. I wasn't planning to stay long, just say hi, grab a plate, leave. But Ryan was there with a beer in hand and asked if I needed a seat. I sat, and we didn't stop talking the rest of the night. A few weeks later, we were dating. 6 months after that, he moved in with me. I had a small 1-bedroom apartment close to the dental office where I worked full-time. On weekends, I still picked up shifts at the diner near campus to help with bills. Ryan was between jobs. He told me he was still figuring things out. He'd dropped out of college years earlier after his dad passed. I didn't judge. I told him we could take things slow. He proposed a year later with a ring he said had belonged to his grandmother. I didn't even care if that was true. It was sweet. We were sitting on the floor eating Chinese food out of the cartons, and he just pulled it out of his pocket. I want to grow old with you, he said. I said yes without blinking. Not long after we got married, Ryan started talking about going back to school. I want to do something you can be proud of, he said. You've always worked so hard. I want to match that. It sounded like a dream. He wanted to be a physical therapist. We made a plan. He'd enroll full-time at Florida State, and I'd work extra hours to cover us. He couldn't work because the program was intense. I agreed. I believed in him. For the next 3 years, I worked 2 jobs. Dental assistant during the week, waitress on weekends and some weeknights. I missed holidays, birthdays, weddings. I was tired all the time. But I pushed through. Because I thought I was doing it for us. That's when his mom started coming around more. Margaret. Real piece of work. She always had something snide to say. You're still working at that dental clinic? Ryan tells me you never went to college? You work weekends? Oh. She'd say things like that while sipping wine and flipping through her phone. Never direct. Just little cuts. Ryan never defended me. He just sat there, quiet. Said later, she doesn't mean it like that. Sure. She didn't think I was good enough for him. Not with her background. Her husband had been a successful accountant before he passed. She lived off his pension and inheritance, and she carried herself like royalty. She made sure Ryan remembered that she'd raised him for more. I figured we'd get through it. Margaret lived in Georgia, so I didn't have to see her that much. I kept my head down. I kept working. Ryan started staying out more. Study groups. Library late hours. Tutoring. I didn't question it much, he was in a tough program. I figured he needed space. But he stopped looking me in the eye. Then came graduation. I asked him what time the ceremony started so I could take the day off. He looked uncomfortable. Actually, he said, I don't think you should come. I thought I heard wrong. I said, what? He rubbed the back of his neck. It's just gonna be family. Like my mom, my sister, a few cousins. I don't want it to get weird. Weird. He said I would make his graduation weird. I am your family, I told him. He didn't answer. Just walked off like the conversation was over. I barely slept that night. I kept trying to tell myself he was just trying to keep the peace with his mom. That maybe he'd change his mind in the morning. He didn't. He left early, dressed in his gown, wouldn't even look at me. I sat on the couch all morning, numb. Around noon, I started seeing posts pop up online. His cousin tagged him in a photo. There he was, cap, gown, diploma in hand, grinning like he'd won the damn lottery. And then I saw her. Blonde. Slim. Younger than me, probably by 10 years. She was in a tight red dress, arm looped around his waist. His arm was around her shoulder like it belonged there. They looked like a couple. Another post showed them kissing. My hand started shaking. I clicked through. More photos. Her name was Celeste. She worked in the dean's office. Apparently, they'd been seeing each other for months. I picked up my phone and texted him one word, "Why?" His reply came back a minute later. "She's who I deserve now." That's all he said. I couldn't breathe. I stood up, walked outside. Needed air. I couldn't think. That's when I saw the driveway. My car, gone. I froze. It wasn't towed. It hadn't broken down. I parked it there the night before. I ran back inside, opened the drawer where we kept the spare key. Empty. I went to the security camera monitor. We had a cheap camera over the garage, just enough to watch the driveway. It was turned toward the wall. Someone had moved it. Someone knew what they were doing. That someone was Ryan. He took the spare key. He turned the camera. He took the car. And he left me. I called the cops. Filed a report. But because his name was on the title, they told me there wasn't much they could do. Just a civil issue. I was left with nothing. He emptied our joint account the same day. All the money I'd earned, gone. Not even enough left to cover rent. A week later, I saw another post. Ryan and Celeste had moved into a condo together. Margaret was tagged in the comments, talking about her new daughter-in-law. I wasn't invited. I wasn't even acknowledged. I was erased. But I'm not done. Ryan thinks he got away with it. He has no idea who I really am. He's going to learn the hard way. After Ryan left, I stayed with a friend for a while, Erica, someone I knew from my waitressing job. She had a pull-out couch in her one-bedroom apartment, and I was too numb to care about comfort. She didn't ask too many questions, just handed me a blanket and let me cry when I needed to. I went back to work at the dental office like nothing happened. I kept my head down and didn't say much. People noticed I was quieter, but nobody pushed. I think they assumed we'd separated or something. I didn't tell them the whole story yet. I wasn't ready. But I started taking notes. I started printing receipts. Transactions from our joint account. When he took out cash, when he paid for dinners I wasn't at, when he made purchases I never saw. Jewelry stores. Hotel bookings. Flowers. All while I was working double shifts, trying to make ends meet. I called my cousin Alex, who works at a body shop in Apalachicola. I asked if he'd seen my car. A red 2016 Civic, dent on the rear bumper. He said no, but he'd ask around. He owed me a favor. I paid his bail years ago when he got caught driving drunk. We weren't close, but blood is blood. A week later, he called me back. "Don't know if it's yours," he said, "but a guy came through here asking about new rims for a red Civic. Said he just moved into a condo with his girl, works in physical therapy or some crap." Sounded like a real prick. I sent Alex a photo of Ryan. "That's him," he said. So Ryan still had my car. He just didn't care who knew it. That same day, I started digging into Celeste. I didn't want to, but I needed to. She worked in the dean's office. I found her LinkedIn, her Facebook, even her mom's Pinterest. These people shared everything online. They were careful about some things, but not careful enough. One night, I got a message from a woman I didn't know. Her name was Allison. She said she used to date Ryan, back when he lived in Kentucky. She'd seen some of my comments on an old photo of him and reached out. Her message, he did the same thing to me. Sweet at first. Then cold. Took my savings, moved in with another girl. Said I wasn't enough for his new life. Be careful. He's a snake. We talked for 2 hours. Turns out Ryan had a pattern. He found women who'd take care of him, carried him until he found someone better, then dumped them like trash. That's when something in me snapped. I wasn't going to wait for karma. I was going to be karma. I went back through every transaction tied to our joint bank account. I flagged all the ones that had nothing to do with me. Jewelry store in Jacksonville. Hotel in Orlando. Brunch place I'd never heard of. All done while we were still married. All traceable. I printed it all. I contacted an attorney, Gina Rothman, who had a reputation for being aggressive. She took one look at my paperwork and said, "Let's burn him to the ground." Since Ryan and I were still legally married, he never filed, I could go after him for marital asset misuse. Gina explained that in Florida, if a spouse spends shared funds on an affair, it's considered dissipation of marital assets. That meant I could sue him for every dollar he used on Celeste. It wasn't just about the money anymore. It was about principle. And humiliation. Ryan loved playing the clean-cut future professional. His whole life was now built on this polished version of himself. I wanted to crack that open. We filed the lawsuit. Ryan was served at his new condo, in front of Celeste. But I didn't stop there. I remembered he had used my name on some of the utility accounts, because his credit wasn't great back then. So I logged into the old energy provider's account, and sure enough, my name was still on it. That meant he owed a few hundred in unpaid balances. I transferred it back to him. Legally. Along with a formal request for back payment. I also tipped off the HOA of his condo community that he was parking a car not registered in his name. I had the VIN, and I submitted a complaint through their website anonymously. 3 days later, he got a warning notice. 2 more, and he'd face a fine or towing. Still not done. I remembered something else. His program at FSU had a strict code of ethics. Physical therapy students couldn't be involved in conduct unbecoming or anything that brought discredit to the university. Dating someone from the dean's office while married? That could qualify. So I submitted a complaint, again, anonymously. Using screenshots of the Facebook photos and the timeline of our marriage. I wasn't sure what they'd do, but I knew they'd take it seriously. Especially since Celeste was staff. Days passed. Then weeks. Ryan didn't reach out once. Not to apologize. Not to argue. Not to deny. But Celeste did. She messaged me on Facebook late one night. "I don't know what your problem is, but if you don't back off, there will be consequences." I stared at her message for a long time. Then I replied. "I gave him 10 years. He gave you my car. You want consequences? Honey, I haven't even started." Then I blocked her. But I could feel it, things were starting to shake for them. Rumors. Pressure. Complaints. Bills stacking up. Legal documents. It was all catching up. I wasn't trying to just hurt Ryan. I was tearing down the fake life he built on top of my sacrifice. And I still had more moves to make. A week after Celeste messaged me, I got an email from the FSU Office of Student Conduct. They couldn't share many details due to privacy rules, but they thanked me for submitting the concern. The way it was worded told me everything I needed to know. Something was happening behind the scenes. I didn't stop watching their social media. Their perfect image was slipping. Ryan had gone quiet online, no new photos, no smiling posts about grinding through boards or blessed for new beginnings. Celeste's page stayed active a little longer, but the tone changed. More passive-aggressive quotes, more vague posts about fake people, and some lessons hurt more than others. Then she posted a black screen with the words, "Sometimes betrayal doesn't come from enemies." I saved it. I kept all of it. Meanwhile, my lawyer Gina was gathering fire. She'd filed subpoenas for the bank records tied to our joint account, and she'd already drafted a formal letter demanding Ryan compensate me for misused marital funds. He ignored it. Then we hit him with a motion for discovery. And that's when something unexpected happened. I got a call from a woman named Dana. She worked at the same dental office I had been at. She was our part-time hygienist. We were never close, just polite at work. But she sounded shaken. She told me she saw Ryan. He'd come in for a cleaning with Celeste. They didn't recognize her, apparently. But Dana knew me, and she said she couldn't believe what she heard. While Celeste waited at the front desk, Ryan chatted up the hygienist like he didn't have a care in the world. He joked about how hard his last few months had been, how his ex went off the rails, and how he was dealing with some crazy legal drama. Then he said this: "She's just bitter because she thought I was gonna take care of her forever." Please. She was a waitress. Dana told me she almost spit her gloves out. She wanted me to know. I thanked her, but I didn't get mad. Not yet. That was Ryan's tactic: humiliate me, turn people against me, make it sound like I was the problem. I was going to show people exactly who he was. That's when I had an idea. Before Ryan left me, I used to help him write his school papers. He'd send me rough outlines, and I'd clean them up: spelling, grammar, formatting. I wasn't proud of it, but I did it out of love. I still had some of the original drafts saved in my cloud drive. I compared them to his recent online portfolio. The one he submitted for his final practicum evaluation. They were identical. He had plagiarized his own old drafts. And worse, I had helped write parts of them. Gina nearly burst out laughing when I told her. This is academic dishonesty. You realize what this means? We drafted an anonymous packet, with printed proof, my original timestamps from cloud backups, his submitted work, and screenshots comparing the content. I didn't want to get Celeste fired, yet, but I had no problem exposing him. I mailed it directly to the university's academic integrity office. 1 week later, Ryan's Instagram disappeared. 2 weeks after that, his name vanished from the university's online student registry. And then, out of nowhere, Margaret, his mother, called me. I didn't recognize the number at first. I only picked up because I thought it might be the paralegal from Gina's office. Hello? Hello, this is Margaret. Her voice was thin. Quieter than usual. I almost hung up. She cleared her throat. I just wanted to say. I didn't know everything that was going on. Ryan didn't tell me all of it. I'm sorry. I said nothing. She kept talking. He's in a mess right now. He's blaming everyone but himself. He lost the internship. There was an issue with the program. Something about plagiarism? I stayed quiet. She sighed. Look, I know we haven't always seen eye to eye, but you were good to him. You really were. I finally spoke. I gave him everything. I'm just taking it back. She didn't argue. Before she hung up, she said something strange. You're not the first woman he's done this to. But you might be the last. That stuck with me. But the biggest twist was still coming. Because while all of this was happening, I finally heard back from the police. Not the local precinct, this time, it was a detective from the DMV Fraud Investigation Unit. I had filed a small report months earlier, barely thinking it would go anywhere. I'd mentioned that my car had been taken under false pretenses. I'd submitted copies of the title, and the timing of when Ryan registered it solely under his name without my consent. Apparently, he forged my signature. That opened a whole new door. Fraud. Title tampering. Misrepresentation of ownership. This wasn't just a domestic issue anymore. It was criminal. And now the state was involved. Ryan had no idea how much worse it was about to get. 3 weeks after I got the call from the DMV investigator, I was sitting in Gina's office when she opened an envelope from the county court. Her eyes lit up. He's getting charged, she said. Forgery. Title fraud. It's going through. The state's picking it up. It felt like my chest finally exhaled after months of being clenched tight. For the first time, it wasn't just my word against his. There was proof. There were consequences. He wasn't going to just walk away and play house like nothing happened. Ryan got served with the criminal complaint 2 days later. Celeste posted a vague story that night: "Be careful who you trust. Not everyone is who they say they are." I smiled. I didn't stop there. A few days after that, the school made it official: Ryan was expelled from the university. His degree was revoked pending investigation, and all records of graduation were pulled. Celeste wasn't seen at the dean's office after that. Word spread that she'd been placed on administrative leave. Turns out, the university found out she had been in a romantic relationship with an enrolled student during his final year. That alone was enough to trigger a full ethics inquiry. I didn't have to do anything else after that. The systems he used to cheat his way forward finally started chewing him up. He tried reaching out to me one night. A number I didn't know called 3 times in a row. Then a voicemail. It was Ryan. He sounded panicked. Not angry. Scared. "Look, I just want to talk. I'm in a bad spot, okay? I made mistakes. But this is going too far. You're ruining my life." I didn't reply. He called again the next night. Left another message. "This is all just a misunderstanding. We were falling apart long before Celeste. You just didn't want to see it. If you could just talk to the DA and delete." I never answered. He thought I'd come crawling back. He thought I'd feel guilty. He thought I was still the same woman who worked double shifts and begged his mother to like her. I wasn't her anymore. Then came the court hearing. I didn't need to testify. The paperwork spoke for itself. My signature had been forged. The VIN history proved the transfer was done without full consent. His credit card statements were tied to spending during our marriage that clearly funded his affair. Gina came in with a binder thick enough to crush a watermelon. Ryan sat across the courtroom in a wrinkled suit, no lawyer of his own. He kept shifting in his seat, sweating. He didn't even look at me. Celeste wasn't with him. Margaret wasn't either. By the end of that week, he had a criminal record. He was sentenced to probation, community service, and court fines. And that wasn't even the worst part. The judge ordered him to pay restitution. For my car and for the money he took from our joint account while funding his affair. Over $17,000. Spread across 5 years of payments. He didn't have the job he'd planned on anymore, so that meant real debt. I took the car back, too. He had no legal ground to keep it anymore. My cousin Alex drove it back from the impound lot and fixed it up for free. Said it felt good to do something useful with his tools again. When I saw it parked in front of my new place, I didn't cry. I smiled. As for Celeste? Last I heard, she moved out of town. Left the university. Her sister posted a photo on Instagram that tagged her in Atlanta, working at a fitness center. No more dean's office. No more polished posts. Just a blank smile and fake positivity quotes. Margaret tried calling me again once. I didn't answer. Erica and I celebrated with cheap wine and frozen pizza. I told her the full story that night, every detail. She just shook her head. Girl. You went full nuclear. No, I said. I went even. It's been a year now. I have a new apartment. I saved up for a used Jeep, so I don't even need the Civic anymore. I donated it to a local women's shelter that helps women escaping abusive relationships. That felt right. That felt full circle. I dropped the waitress job. I still work at the dental office, but now I run the front desk. Management position. Better pay, better hours. I started taking night classes too, online, slowly, but it's mine. No one's pushing me. No one's draining me dry. Ryan, from what I hear, is back in Kentucky. Living with an old college buddy. No license. Criminal record. No job in healthcare. Not anymore. Every now and then, I wonder if he thinks about me. If he scrolls through old photos and realizes what he threw away. If he thinks about the woman who stood beside him when he had nothing, only for him to throw her aside the moment he felt important. But then I remember what he texted me the day he graduated. "She's who I deserve now." He was right. He did get what he deserved. Just not in the way he expected.